with the shadow, it is basically all of the unconscious material, the disowned material of our psyche, of our mind. So we can take it from two perspectives. The first is just the basis of what is generally presented with shadow work, which is as we grow up, we are given sometimes explicit, but sometimes implicit messages about what would make us lovable or unlovable. And the things that make us unlovable, so for some of us, we push that into our shadow or unconscious, because if we were conscious and connected with those, we would then be rejected and be abandoned. So some examples could be, let's say I have a very creative inner world, and I end up with a family who is very practical and logical. And so that creativity, because I think a lot of times we think shadow is just negative things, but positive things get pushed into our shadow as well. So if I grew up in that family, my expression of this creativity is not going to be matched, and it may even be disregarded or criticized. And so, as an adaptive mechanism, I push that creativity into my unconscious because it makes me not acceptable. Now, what can happen with shadow work? So, one way, if you want to start to understand your shadow, because it is unconscious, so it's not like you can just identify it, is the things that really bother you in other people in general are because they are living the aspect of the shadow you have disowned. So let's say I grow up and I become very logical, very um, practical, and whenever I see someone trying to live a creative life, I become very frustrated and think they're irresponsible. That emotional response is actually my shadow reacting because I'm seeing what is unacceptable outside of me. So difficult people actually become the key to understanding our shadow, because the reason in recovery we have this phrase, you spot it, you got it. If you can see it in others, it's because you have it within your own mind. And you can reject that, which is fine, but you will maintain that unconscious shadow. And the unconscious shadow actually really impacts our day to day life because we suppress it, but occasionally it bubbles up. And so that can be times when you react or do something that once you calm down, you think, why did I do that? Like, where did that come from? That's coming from your shadow. Another perspective is that our unconscious is also part of all of our past lives. So all of us have had innumerable past lives, and in each of those lives there were habits and practices and different things that we did. And so um, the shadow, the unconscious, is those past lives because we reject that, especially in the West. Other cultures don't, um, and we can't necessarily connect to those experiences. But every person, like I love watching babies because they come in with a very clear personality, and if you have kids, you'll see that like they're so different. And what that is you can say personality, and that's appropriate, but personality also is past lives. They don't contradict, actually. Obviously, if you don't believe it, then it does contradict. But I also share that because I think we can learn a lot. Because we tend to have a really limited view of just one life, and so a lot of things don't make sense. But if we can broaden that, it can really help us to understand that. And Carl Jung was greatly impacted or influenced by Eastern spirituality. I imagine that if he was still alive, he would agree to that. So thank you, and I really encourage you to seek out shadow work. It is very transformative. It can make those changes that maybe you haven't been able to make through traditional therapeutic interventions, and can just add to that experience. So, thanks.